Can I say this real quick? I gotta go, but I'm gonna
Okay.
give you a prime example. Today, I clocked in for work, right? I said, you know what? I don't feel like working. I want to go take my nephews to the movies. I chose to clock in and take my nephews to the movies on the clock. I know it's wrong. I chose to do that. Now, if my job fires me, which they won't, maybe they will, I don't know. But
Well,
if
we
they
hope not.
do,
We hope
I
not.
can't holler racism. They did it because I'm black. My psychological trauma in my upbringing made me do it. No, it's a decision I chose to make under my own will, and that's it. Black people have been trained to blame other groups of people and unfortunate things that happen in their life for any and every bad decision they make, and it's just it's killing us. It really is.
And I appreciate that. I know you got to tap out. So I'm gonna get to the chat real quick and then allow Sister Monica a chance to respond because we may not be going for too much longer. But this is a great conversation. Media Baby states, are y'all talking about the women who were sexually assaulted? Question mark. The same thing happened to women at Woodstock in 1999. When men chose to assault women, you can't blame the women. Agree 100% there. Media Baby, if you could, I would love for you to join the conversation. Link is in the chat. The True Blue 1992. I think men and women can have psychological trauma. However, some men choose to not acknowledge it. Sister Mary Shy, of course, said, excuse me, very true. And so I think there's a lot that we can unpack from here. And I think what you're saying, True Blue, is correct. However, I will make the argument that I have seen Black people use those type of excuses to what? Use those type of talking points to excuse their deviant behavior. We've all seen that before. I can admit when I was in 4th grade, I got in trouble at school. And we all know what it meant growing up in the Black community back when we were coming up. If you get in trouble at school, your behind belongs to me, is what your parents are going to say. Ain't no way you get out of a whooping. And so I concocted a story about how the devil was trying to make me be bad in school. So I remember I had this conversation with my dad. It's Friday evening. And it's like a movie night. On Friday evenings were movie nights. And so I'm like, I need to talk to you. And so I break down, start crying in the conversation. I was a thespian. I could have got a damn Oscar for that shit, right? And so, I was going to pull out the letter from the teacher and say, well, I got this letter from the teacher. I got in trouble. But I just knew my dad wouldn't believe that. I was like, he's not going to believe this. If I pull out the letter right after I tell him this whole story, but I believe the devil's trying to make me act bad at school. So guess what I did? I tore the letter up and threw it away. I went to school that Monday. The teacher said, did you give your parents a letter? I said, yes, I did. Like, it kept on moving, right? So I think there are times where people will use those type of things to try to excuse bad behavior.
Yeah, well, that's a little different. So as human beings in general, we're always trying to move away from pain and to seek pleasure. So we do that as adults, we do that as children. So if you have the possibility of getting in trouble because we're always seeking to avoid pain, then that's the reason why we tend to lie or not tell the truth or to avoid certain things or situations, because we don't want the pain that comes along with that the consequences of that situation. So in that context, that's kind of what we do as human beings, just to kind of move away or towards those specific things. What we're talking about, and Michael specifically asked about how we got here in the conversation. So how we got here is we talked about the evolution of our society or evolution of our culture versus the devolution, where we regress, where we move backwards within our society. And we talked about the progress that we've made in certain areas of our culture, in the ways that we've regressed in parts of our culture. And it was acknowledged that we talked about in the 60s and the 70s, you see this different form of liberation where women kind of identify with staying within the home, identifying with traditional cultural norms. But the reason why I don't think it would be a good idea, Michael, for you to be able to hold women accountable in these situations is because, again, the way that you choose to, just what Bakari said, the way that you choose to look at the situation or the way that you associate that is you believe that women need to be held accountable. So there's a book called Men Are Like Waffles and Women Are Like Spaghetti. So if men are like waffles, that means men tend to they tend to compartmentalize. They don't tend to see the connection of things. If you think if this happened, then this happened, then this needs to happen. It's very black and white. It's 1, 2, 3. It's, you know, problem, consequence, and then that's the end of it. If you don't have the capacity to be like spaghetti, like a woman would think about it and perceive it, and we're talking about nuanced issues, people who understand the complexity of nuanced issues are oftentimes more in the position to be able to help people unpack the things that they're experiencing, because your level of capacity, not saying you, Michael, in general, but just men in general who have this compartmentalization where you don't see the connections in things. You guys think 1 + 1 = 2 when human behavior.
1 + 1 = 2?
1 + 1 can equal 1 or 3 as well.
1 + 1 = 2, but in the context of human behavior, when you're talking about the context of human behavior, there are so many other things that you have to consider. It's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2 when you're talking about human behavior. So if you say, well, you knew better and you shouldn't have done it, there's a lot of motivating factors that causes people to make the decisions that they make or not. And it's not making excuses for the person. So if someone makes a decision and your first mind is to say, oh, you're making an excuse, one, that's dismissive. It doesn't honor the reason why the person felt that they wanted to make the decision or needed to make the decision. 4, it causes the person to shut down, which doesn't help them feel vulnerable to share the reasons why they did it. So yeah, you could have this conversation about we need to hold people accountable, we need to hold women accountable, but the goal is to be able to create a space where women can feel comfortable sharing the reasons why they do what they do or why they don't. If they feel like you're constantly wagging your finger at them around what they should and shouldn't do and what choices they should and shouldn't make, and they knew better and they knew the choice that they were going to make, that's not opening up the conversation to have a real dialogue and a discourse, because you're not someone who's safe to share those reasons why they made the decision or not. So you might be right in what you believe and what you perceive, but you're not safe. And that's the reason why you see women not taking accountability for the things that they do, because they have to guard themselves from you emotionally, because you don't create a safe space for them to land when they do want to share something that they made a decision around. So you can't say you want to hold women accountable, but then it's like landing on a rock. If you want to be accountable, it has to feel more like landing on a pillow.
I don't mind.